welcome back to the Patch Pod. This week we're going to be talking about photography workshop. I know a few weeks ago we talked about the WPPI photography conventions, which there are many of throughout the world, throughout the year. So I don't know if there's anyone who's been to photography convention like WPPI, but never been to a workshop. Well, I guess for anyone who's never been to any kind of photography workshop, I thought this probably is a pretty good episode in terms of like what to expect and what to do or what you will learn, if it's worth it or all that kind of stuff. I keep forgetting to introduce ourselves. So let's introduce ourselves first. This is Eugene, as always, with Pauline and John. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Hi.
Yeah, they are here.
Yes, we are.
Last week we talked about what did we talk about?
Somebody started.
We talked about if there's the age of retirement.
When should you stop?
Yeah, we talked about how to become not really how to become, but from what will be the necessary step from becoming a full-time photographer from a part-time photographer. And I think today's episode will probably tie in pretty well, because it's something that a lot of people take part in the process of becoming a full-time photographer, in wanting to learn more about the industry, learn more about the photography technique, learn more about the business. If that photography workshop do offer business side of things, we'll talk about it. I think this episode is pretty close to us in the sense that we met at a workshop, and we're doing this episode in a preparation for our next workshop. So, yeah, we don't. How many workshops have you guys been, like, in wedding and portraiture related?
One.
I'm thinking two.
Okay. Yeah, I've been to two as well. There was a little gap between, but so one. I know, Pauline, which one you've been to. John, what was the other one?
The other one was here in Vegas. The one that Foco did.
Okay. Oh, that
Yeah,
counts.
that
Okay.
one, right? Yeah, it's like a mini. I guess it's a mini workshop. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. In that case, 3 for me.
And then I've done like 2 landscape ones.
Yeah. How does the landscape workshop works?
Well, we could talk about it when we get into this.
Actually, yeah. Let's save that. We can talk about that in terms of like how it's different in other photography fields. So we'll save
different.
that for a little bit. Yeah.
Spoiler. Very different.
I'm now curious about this. Okay.
So for those of you listening, if you thought about maybe attending a photography workshop, which are the photography workshops that you've been kind of interested in taking part of? Because I feel like there's so many different kind of workshops that's, maybe organized and ran by one photographer. And oftentimes I think the follower of that one photographer usually attend those. And then there are some a little bit bigger ones, oftentimes run by maybe bigger company, or there is like an online based sort of like workshop as well. But I think this episode, I think we'll try to focus on the in-person episode. I think that kind of really sort of like highlights the experience side of things as well, so that we can really picture what the photography workshops are like. We'll talk about the benefits of attending these workshops. Maybe some downsides. Should you attend them, or should you not? If so, maybe we'll talk about some opinions. Even though we've all attended the workshops, maybe we'll have different experience and different outcome from it. So we thought it would be kind of just nice to talk about them. So, what is workshop?
I was actually just thinking about this because there's so many, same with everything. There's so many definitions. Everyone sees it differently. I always think about it, it's more, well, obviously what we're talking about is more of an in-person thing where photographers in this case are gathered in the same place, whether that is one person leading it, or it's like a panel or a team or something, for the purpose of, learning and connecting, networking, and gaining new techniques and skills. But I think the premise could be so different depending on what. Like, from what I know, a lot of workshops are mainly like all styled shoots and that's it. I've seen a lot of Facebook groups where someone's like, oh, I'm going to hold, this mini workshop, basically like a styled shoot. If you want to, work together and join in, like have vendors involved and stuff like that. So I think the bigger ones would be the ones that are, I guess, sponsored by brands or companies or, photographers who are more well known. Then I see those ones are a little bit bigger. But for the most part, I feel like most of them are on the smaller scale of things, especially when there are shoots involved. Because, I'm sure we'll talk about this, but, when there's even 15 photographers, that's a lot shooting just a couple. And so for the most part, most of them are smaller in terms of scale.
I guess it's pretty similar to what Pauline was saying. Most of the time, it looks like a styled shoot with some speakers. Most of the time, it's going to be someone that's well known or has some background, has something to show for it.
Do you guys feel more of a sort of destination wedding photographers would try to take part in some of the workshops, or do you think a lot of even a non-destination wedding photographers still like to take part in a lot of these workshops? Because I think a lot of the workshops, one of the main reasons that people do attend is for build their portfolio as well, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to me, that was my main reason why I wanted to join portfolio building. Some people would, since it's a workshop, it's more on doing, right? Rather than sitting in front of a computer, you're actually there shooting. So that's also like a good practice to shoot like real couples. Like, for example, you're a real beginner and you have nothing. It's a good idea to come in. Number one, to build portfolio, something to put on your website. And then number two, to really just shoot and practice and also look at other photographers on how they're doing things. And hopefully somebody there guiding you like a mentor. Sam heard when you show him some photos, he'll give you some criticisms right on the spot. Oh, you shouldn't cut the head off like that on the horizon. Like simple things like that. Yeah, which is, I guess, should be one of the reasons why you should be attending workshops, like really help you with your skills.
The very first one I attended was 5 years ago. It was one that kind of followed up with WPPI. It was actually quite expensive. Well, at that time, I thought it was because I wasn't making that much money in the photography industry. So, but I thought it was a very much needed thing because it was one of the main reasons that I attended that particular workshop was to understand how to use Flash. And at that time, I knew what the Flash was and I knew how it works, but I didn't really know how to use it in a different situation and how I can be creative with it and all that. So in that sense, that was really, really helpful. At that time, I think I was a little bit too early in my sort of photography career that I didn't really know what to talk about with other photographers. So I didn't really feel like I haven't been in the industry that long in a sense that there was nothing really to share with. And in terms of networking and everything like that, there was nothing else. So it was just taking photos and maybe getting some critiqued and portfolio building. And that was pretty much it for that first workshop. But I think in the second workshop, which we met last year in Banff, I went there first because there were 4 mentors, but all the 4 mentors I knew fairly well by attending all the WPPIs in the past. And also I wanted to go there because it's Banff. I've never been to Canada, and just being able to take photos in Banff is pretty nice. So that's the second reason I went. And so for me, it was about networking and taking some photos and maybe having some little bit different types of photos in my portfolio rather than all the desert scenery. So I think the whole purpose changed from the first one to the second one. And they're definitely worth it in terms of we learn so many different things. some people may not see the value in paying so much money. How do you guys feel like in terms of the price that you guys paid to attend these?
For me, I found out about the Banff workshop from Taylor Jackson. I remember it. It's like early in the morning, one of his YouTube videos, and he's just very good at selling. Oh, like it's cheap and whatnot. And of course, I never had I didn't have a baseline of like how expensive should a workshop cost, but I mean, I just compared it with Jerry Gionis's, which was like a week long, and it's like $5,000, $10,000, I think. So I'm like $900. That's nothing. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and that's when I spoke with my wife and said, "Hey, babe, I need this. I need to do this for my portfolio, and to meet other people, learn more about photography." And yeah, I feel like it was worth it at that time. So. And I feel like it was worth it.
If John's wife is listening, he definitely worked hard enough. He
Made
took
it back.
so many photos. took so many photos.
Oh yeah,
He has plenty of portfolio.
I really took it seriously. Like, well, this is my I only have one chance for this. Like, it was like very interesting. Like, looking back, it was okay.
I mean, if you didn't go, you wouldn't have met Eugene, and then you wouldn't have a second shot for him. Well, I feel like maybe your paths would have crossed somehow eventually, but
no, I think that was like, yeah, that would not happen. Yeah, I feel like I learned more because of that. Like, yeah, second shooting with Eugene and everything.
well, I don't remember how much I paid for it. But yeah, I remember watching the video, and as you guys know, I love Banff. I go as often as I can. And so, the past few years I've wanted to go for every year. I've been like, we need to go this year. We need to go. And September is always the time I go. And so I didn't even consider, everything else. And I guess my first workshop experience was in Banff. And so I think that's another reason why I was immediately sold, because obviously I have such fond memories attending workshops in Banff. And so, yeah.
So if it wasn't in Banff, would you have attended?
Where would have, where would you say?
Also, it's more of like destination. Okay. What if it's in Iceland? Oh, you've been in Iceland, but what
Probably
if it's
not.
in Iceland? Okay. What if it's in Vegas?
Probably not.
Okay, well, this is pretty bad.
No, honestly, I don't know. I don't think I would have if it was somewhere else.
Okay.
There's just something about, Alberta and the Rockies that I
Right,
just
right.
love a lot.
I think that was
So-
the main reason I attended, because I know as a photographer who's not from Canada, there's not much of opportunity to photograph in Canada as work. It's very limited in terms of where it's illegal. I was like, being able to photograph a couple somewhere as amazing as Banff, I was like, this is the only opportunity. I have to go.
It actually was a dream of mine too. I've been wanting to go, but I never had the reason to. And that was one of my conversations with my wife. Like, maybe I really want to go.
Yeah, and it didn't disappoint. It was really good.
Oh, definitely.
so-
Yeah. It's very pretty.
For me, I didn't actually hear from Taylor. I heard from Focal. I mean, I've never checked, but I feel like I was probably either the first or second to sign up, because they announced it, and then I signed up literally right away. They gave discounts for the first 10, like $200 discount. So it was much cheaper as well. When we were sort of wrapping up for that first workshop, Focal obviously announced the second workshop, the NAC in Maui. And I think we pretty much signed up all together.
I bought it on the spot.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, I'm going.
Also, because Lachlan was like, it's refundable. So I was like, I kind of have to.
Yeah. And at that time, it was very cheap, like same price, right? Like 600, I think, something like that.
950.
So, oh, okay, 950.
Definitely fear of loss there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Fear of loss, definitely. But it's a good thing it was refundable.
Yeah.
So like basically no risk. So might as well.
Yeah, and I think like kind of what we were talking about, location is huge because I've never been to Hawaii and I've always wanted to. And so, see, if the
Yeah.
first one was in Hawaii, I probably may have gone,
Oh, okay.
you know?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think for me is as well. Like, because if it was in Hawaii, in any other islands, I don't think I would have gone. But because it's Maui, I'm like, Maui is the only island I haven't been. So I was like, oh, this is good. This is a good time to go.
Yeah.
And being on U.S. soil, that, like, I know I could probably make more money out of it, like by by trying to cram in more sessions and stuff. So I thought it was probably a good opportunity to
Right.
try something like that. Probably all the listeners are probably all thinking, so you guys love workshops. We're not 100%, we're not 100% convinced. I think oftentimes the people who don't attend the workshop is probably the people who are not sure if that's a really good investment or not. I think it comes down to the money side of things. I mean, I think focal, all the not a conference workshops been pretty affordable. I was supposed to go on another workshop in Italy with a photographer named Tyler Rye. Yeah, he's another amazing photographer that I look up to a lot, and he travels a lot. I think he's based in Utah, but he goes to Morocco, he goes to Italy to photograph destination weddings. I love his style, so wanted to go and attend his workshop, but that was like 6,500 for 4 days workshop.
That's crazy.
But to me, I feel like that's really good. I mean, it would be nice if it was cheaper, because in that 6,500, everything was included, like including the accommodation, including flight wasn't included, but everything else was included, all the meals, all the transportation. So I thought, in my calculation, if I were to do the accommodation separately and maybe some food separately and maybe some transportation separately, then it wouldn't be that much of a difference. But so that was sort of like my way of saying like, no, this is okay. But I know this is still a lot of money. But the reason that I thought it was really good opportunity is because it's somewhere that I don't get to go so often to photograph a wedding or photograph any kind of session. So for me to kind of expand my market into Europe or into Italy, I thought that's a good investment in terms of sort of like leveraging myself into something like that. So my goal was to kind of probably try to book a few more couples while I was there. So hopefully I can break even on the travel and on the workshop side of things. And at the same time, I could leverage that to expand my business. For you guys, is that how you guys think about when it comes to like paying for the workshops, or do you guys just based on like how much you will learn while paying that sort of money, or like how does that work for you? Like what's the calculation?
Well, I think of it as investment on me, investing on myself, like learning, investing to the business because it's going to be for my portfolio as well. I can use it for marketing, social media. Yeah, there's no like exact value to it, but if I know that I'm going to use it, then and it's affordable enough. And I know affordability is relative, but I don't really know what's expensive or what not. But yeah, with the past workshops, it seems pretty reasonable.
Do you think 6,500 is expensive?
Well, if everything is included, I think it should be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's reasonable.
I think for me, it's tied together with traveling. I find a lot of my past like traveling experiences has been tied towards like whether that's like a workshop or something. Like I don't just travel to travel. I travel for a purpose. There's a purpose for me to go there, especially if I'm by myself. And so I think that's why I've been to other photography workshops. It's because I travel there for the workshop, especially if it's a place I haven't been. The workshop then includes like someone who is local to that area and that knows, the area well and can help me navigate the area better than if I were to go by myself and do the research myself. And so I think my purpose is tied towards that and not necessarily like breaking even or gaining clients. But again, kind of similar to John, is for investing in myself and for learning and just traveling in general and networking for sure.
Yeah, actually, that's a really good answer. I think, yeah, like I didn't really think about the travel aspect, but yeah, definitely get to travel to places that, you know, like these first two, the NADA conference that we're going, for me at least, I've never been to those both places, so it would be kind of nice to, I mean, we get to stay a little bit longer and, you know, bring the family, and so like making it out of a family trip as well. That's a very quality time and at the same time learning. So yeah. Really good point. So, have you guys ever attended a like a conference that's or like a workshop that's in your local area?
No.
No. Do you know if there is, like, in terms of like, not just like they just happen to be at Vancouver, for example, but like someone trying to attract Vancouver photographers at a workshop in Vancouver? For the purpose of just, you know, working together kind of thing.
So there's a Facebook group I'm a part of. I think it's called Vancouver Photographers and Models, or Models and Photographers. And the guy who created that, he holds a lot of workshops, but mainly like portraiture and commercial. But I think over the years, he's done it himself or paired up with someone who knows the industry a little bit better. But he does hold workshops in that sense. That's the only thing I can think of. I'm sure there's more, but I haven't personally looked into it.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I think what Pauline said is probably true in the sense that I think it kind of ties into the travel aspects as well. Because all the workshops that I'm trying to go is like all the places that I haven't been, where like there's otherwise I won't have any opportunity to shoot at those places.
I think it depends on your purpose, right? Like the local ones probably most likely is to network with the people in your area, and hopefully, you know, if you were new in the industry, then maybe you can get some, you know, second shooting gigs, or again, maybe find someone who you can mentor or someone you would become a mentor, for example. So yeah, it really depends on the purpose.
I think that's one of the reasons that like there's so many workshops in Vegas, just because of, I think part of it because WPPI. Being in Vegas is like one of those things like I don't really need to go.
Yeah.
Unless the person who's leading is someone that I really look up to, or you know, something like that. Yeah. Okay, so obviously we haven't really, or at least for you guys haven't been to any workshop that's solely run by one photographer. How do you think it will change if, like, let's say 2 days workshop were like just run by one person, one photographer?
It would depend on who the person is.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
I guess we could talk about my other experiences with landscape workshops. Those are run by one person, or at least like a pair. So I kind of understand that aspect. I think mainly for those ones, you're kind of joining for their expertise and their experience. I think that applies to weddings as well.
Well, that could be interesting because one person can teach like so many different things. You know, you could teach like business side of things, photography, editing. I don't know how that would play out, but
actually, I think what you bring up is quite interesting as well. Like, do you think there are a lot of workshops that includes all the other aspects, so like business, editing, and all that kind of stuff, or is it mostly just photographing?
So I guess that's one thing that you have to like look into, right? And also, you have to look into your business on what your business needs, like, or as a business owner, what kind of workshop do you really need? Then look into those like specific workshops. Whatever will help you. Again, you know, like investment. Again, it's an investing for yourself. So that's when you're going to invest into something, you got to look into like what will help your business, right?
Have you seen any that offers that sort of like business and editing and that kind of workshop as well?
I saw one wherein there's gonna be like photography, and then you sit down with them afterwards, they critique your photos, you edit with them. But the business side, that's something that's not included, but maybe they'll be willing to talk to you about it if given the time. So that's also one thing that a person should look at, like the size of a workshop, how many photographers in one group, how many instructors in one group. If it's like a big group, there's like less chance to, I guess there's like less chance to like photograph couples, less chance for you to talk more to the instructors because they have to divide their attention to everyone.
It's funny because this is the only thing focal is the only one I can think of. So I always just compare it to the landscape ones, and this focal one, like I haven't seen this many photographers in one place ever. With the landscape, I think the most was maybe 8 people. And so that's why 60 was a whole lot. And it was kind of overwhelming, honestly. Even when we split it into groups, like 15 was a lot of people.
It's a lot, yeah.
It's just very overwhelming, especially like, you know, everyone's in the same spot trying to capture the same shot. Whereas in my experience with landscape, everyone disperses. Everyone tries to find their own angle. You know, everyone has their own eye for the landscape, right? And so I remember the one in the Yukon, and it was like in the middle of the night, it was pitch dark. I honestly felt everyone left because I couldn't see anyone. I couldn't hear anybody. I honestly thought I was by myself. Like no one was around me. It was kind of scary because it was dark and we were like on this lake that was frozen. And so for the longest time, I was like, I think everyone left, but no, people were still around. So that's why when I experienced and bam, I was like, wow, there's just so many people.
Yeah. I guess that could be like, that could be a downside, right?
Yeah.
Like if you're really like trying to learn, that could be a hindrance because so many people, it's hard to take photos. And also critiquing wise, like it would be nice to have like a debrief with everyone, but with that amount of number of participants, it's going to be so hard.
Even within a group, there's like a mixture. Like there's going to be people who are there really looking to have more things for their portfolio, whereas some others maybe, you know, they're just there to meet people and there to learn, you know, what the mentors are trying to teach. And so even though there are 15 people, like not everyone might have the same purpose. You'll get the shot if you need to.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to say. Eugene, what are you thinking about?
It's just like I think my comparison is obviously my first ever workshop that I attended, and it was actually even more people. So, but the difference was that it was obviously one instructor, one photographer, but he brought 4 different sets of models. So even there were more people, like we were able to spread out, and it just kind of like one, like per like a set of models, there were fewer people. I don't know if it's just because it's a different time in the experience in my sort of like photography career, but I feel like the focal one worked out really well just because we were like everyone communicated well. I don't know about other groups, but like our group, like at least like if we wanted a shot, like if we wanted to direct the couples, you know, like we had that opportunity. Like in that sense, I feel like that's probably one of the reasons that I feel like it was such a good workshop, in a sense that there were a lot of people who were kind of similar, sort of like tempo level or like in terms of photography level, even if it's slightly different, you know, still had good conversation with people. I feel like in that sense, that's why I think it was pretty good. I honestly, before you guys, like I didn't have anyone in terms of like who I can talk to photography about. So just the fact that having you guys and doing a podcast together means that there were a lot of people who were kind of similar, probably like my introverted personality wise and all that. But everyone was just very nice, very welcoming. So obviously there were at least, you know, 1 or 2 that kind of stood out. But, you know, when you say something like that I could take the shot and all that. So in that sense, it was, for me, I didn't feel like there was too many people. But I think it just comes down to that because like sometimes like if a workshop advertised this is like a great opportunity to build portfolio and they have like 15 people in group, then everyone's there to take photos, then I think that could be a little bit too much, a little bit different purposes, different approaches.
How many days was the other one that you attended?
That was 2 days.
Okay. So yeah, this
So,
one
but
was the
this-
shortest for me.
Oh yeah, but it was 2 days with one instructor, so that's why I felt really long.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, even though I was tired, it felt short. The Banff one. So
I mean, the first day that like at the very end, I was so tired. Maybe because the night before I got in really late because we were stuck in the car for 4 hours, and so did I tell you that? Do you guys know that?
no.
No.
Oh, so the road. I think there was something, either an accident or something. So we literally did not move in the car, stuck for
Wow.
4 hours. So we didn't get into like really, really, really late.
So how long did it take
Crazy.
you total?
Oh, I don't even know. A long time.
Wow.
A long time.
Yeah,
I know
that's
that I
wow.
was very sorry. I know I was very fortunate coming in early morning flight because all the evening flight they got either because my clients from Vegas flew in on the same day, and they took the plane the same airline but the later one, and the entire plane didn't get their bags.
Oh gosh.
So they were stuck at the airport until like 3 a.m. or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah. So in that sense, yeah, I was very fortunate. Yeah. There was probably a time that you guys have never attended a workshop and probably thought maybe attending another workshop or not. What was like, if you have made the decision that you're not going to attend this workshop, like that was very interested to you, but that you're not going to attend that one. What was the reason that you didn't attend, or what was the reason that you did attend the Not a Conference bifocal?
I think I already answered this, but for this one, obviously Taylor was a huge part of it too because I've been following him for so
okay.
long, and his video was just so great in promoting it. I don't know if you guys know. Also, he did this little not contest, but on his Facebook page where he did like a different topic every week. And the first week it was on landscapes. So basically like people can submit a photo and people vote, and I won. Like he picked me. So he gave me $100. And so not that I feel in debt to him, but I honestly, when I saw him, I was like, did you know like I was the person that won the thingy? He's like, oh, no way. So my main purpose was to go and thank him for that. And also, yeah, obviously Banff is a special place in my heart. So everything just happened for a reason, I think. Is that what led me to it? And I don't think, at that point, I don't think the cost would have affected my decision at all. But this was actually the first one where I attended that did not include accommodation. Most of the other ones that I did include it. So those are some of the other things to look into as well, like accommodation, what it includes, food and transportation, stuff like that. Something to consider too.
Yeah, it's the same thing for me. It was my first time attending a workshop in Banff, so I had really no idea how it goes. So, but I knew I wanted to shoot over at Banff and get some portfolio, connect with different photographers, and I really just thought it was a good opportunity.
No, but the reason I was asking was because I'm trying to think like other than the cost factor. Because I feel like all the photographers want to learn and want to always trying to find a way to kind of improve their photography skills or photography business. That's probably why a lot of the YouTube channels are doing so well, teaching all different aspects of it. So I was just trying to think, like, other than the cost side of things, what would be the other reasons that people may shy away from these workshops or may not consider them at all? For me, I don't think there was probably anything else. Actually, Pauline, when you said you're when accommodations included, like that's usually shared room, right?
Not all the time.
No?
The first one I had at Banff, I had my own. That's why it was expensive, but that's because I think someone else was supposed to join, and if they did, then we would have shared. But then the one in Yukon, it was, well, we were in cabins, and so we did share, which was so fun because I was the only girl and I was the only one that was not European. So I honestly felt like I was not in Canada because everyone was speaking mainly German they were speaking. So I honestly felt like I was in somewhere else. And yeah, I think when you do share accommodation or when it's more than one day, you definitely get to learn so much about, the other people attending. And I think that's just another part of it that you kind of don't realize, like lifelong friendships that you make, and just like going to camp.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any downsides at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I'm pretty open to, trying to think of different things, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, cost is probably the only. And if you're someone who actually do worry about the cost side of things, it's the actual business expense write-off opportunity as an education. So you can like 100% of that trip you can literally write off. Obviously, in the US the business meal, the tax changed this year, so that would be a little bit less of it. But other than that, all the travels, all the education side of things, everything is a business write-off. So think of it as maybe photographing one wedding, or if you're a little bit lower rate, maybe two weddings to cover the cost of some of the more expensive workshops. That's probably not a bad investment because you could probably leverage that into making more money in the future. So maybe this year you're probably paying a little bit less tax, but next year you could leverage that to pay more tax, get more income, and all that. So there's all the workshops that I have attended. I meet so many different type of photographers and so many photographers in different sort of like stage in their career. I think oftentimes workshops are attended by somewhat newer photographers, someone who's not a full-time photographer yet. But even some of the full-time photographers, like myself, there's still so much to learn. There's never enough in terms of how much we can learn. And it just kind of, I think it's kind of nice to see like how other people work. Some of the things that, what you would do in your normal sort of like workflow could be completely different in someone else's. I think that's one of the things that I quite enjoyed at the Focal workshop, because we had 4 mentors that were very different from one another. Everyone had the different things to offer. So in that sense, I thought that was pretty fun.
Go off of what you said. I learned a lot from, the other people as well that, were in my group. Because, when you're moving from one location to another, or even like when you're walking to find a new spot, you get to talk with one another, and even just that short amount of time, you can learn a lot.
Yeah, and there's always that, one big common thing that we all like photography. So it's always kind of nice to meet someone who can share the passion and just talk about things. But honestly, I think this is probably one of the topics that out of all the topics that we covered, this is probably one of the topics that I don't know if it's just all three of us are so full workshops, but like, I don't think we're still kind of people who will say like attend all the workshop possible. If there's a workshop that, you like, and if the only thing that's kind of stopping you is probably because it's a little bit out of your budget, then I would say try to still attend that workshop, because that will be a good investment for yourself. We're gonna wrap things up here. 2 weeks time, we're hoping that we'll be doing our very first Q&A day, or AMA, or in this case, I would say AUA.
Ask us anything. That's going to be interesting.
In case anyone was counting, we've done now over 20 episodes. That means we've been doing this for 5 months now, almost half a year. That's quite crazy to think about it.
Wow.
But
Yeah, unbelievable.
But in that time, there's been quite a few people who kind of reached out to us, asking about some of the general question about the podcast, about us, about our photography business. So we thought we'll probably dedicate one episode answering those questions. And so in the next 2 weeks, we're hoping that you guys will chime in a little bit more. If you have any more questions that you guys want to ask in, please send it to us in our either in our email. Actually, what is our email? Is it thepodpod@gmail.com?
Yes.
You got it.
Yeah.
Right.
So no space, nothing, no underscore, just all one word, thepodpod@gmail.com. And then, or Instagram comments. And we read, like, out of all three of us, we read all the comments. I mean, there aren't that many comments. And
we see you. Don't worry.
yeah. And then Facebook group as well. Take part in the Facebook group, and you can comment on there. Ask us literally anything appropriate, and then we'll put them together, and we'll make an episode out of that one. For the next week, we are going to talk about how to prepare a destination wedding. As a title, we titled it "How to Prepare for a Destination Wedding," but it's really about all the destination sessions. For example, like I do a lot of engagement sessions, a lot of honeymoon sessions in different locations. We thought it would be kind of nice to kind of start on that too in our preparation for like Hawaii trip as well, and maybe something that you guys could use during the summertime in terms of like going to different locations for your work or for your vacation and all that kind of stuff. So just managing how to bring your gear on a plane as well is probably something that we will talk about. A lot to do with travel stuff. Yeah. For now, I think we're pretty tired. So so we're gonna say goodbye and see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.